Music is a part of all of our lives. We listen to it, we express ourselves with it, we motivate ourselves with it, and at some point, we all make it. Whether you're beatboxing with your pencil in class, or whistling or humming your favorite tune, or showing off your Grammy quality singing voice in the shower, at some point, we all make music. Now for me as a child, it was learning how to play piano that filled my need for music. I started taking lessons in the 3rd grade, and at first, I was a little hesitant, but once I got started, I was absolutely hooked. I wanted to be able to play incredible music that would impress people, so I started practicing. And I practiced, and I practiced, and I practiced, until finally I was ready to show my parents just how good I had gotten. So I played my very first song. Now, my parents were proud of me at that moment, but I still wanted to get better. So at that point, I kept practicing and practicing and practicing until 2 weeks later, I was convinced that I would never be any better at playing the piano. So I played my newest masterpiece. Thank you. Now, I was super proud at that moment, but my parents always encouraged me to keep practicing and keep getting better. So taking that as a challenge, I kept practicing, I kept getting better, and I picked out a song to play in the 3rd grade talent show that year. That's right, I had finally made the big time. So I'm preparing for this, for the 3rd grade talent show. I practiced and I practiced. Finally, that day came, and I stepped out on the stage in front of all my classmates, and I played my very best song to date. That was my first opportunity to ever play piano in front of a group of people, and it felt so good to finally open up and show my friends something that I enjoyed to do. It's been 10 years since that day, and just like that day, I still love to play piano, and I'm still constantly faced with opportunities to open up to those around me. And opening up, it's a difficult thing to do, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that opening up is just like learning how to play a new song. All we have to do is open our minds, open our hearts, and open our arms. The first thing we have to do is we have to learn to open our minds. How many times have we been told that we have to keep an open mind or we have to be open-minded about something? We may say we are, but are we always being open to new ideas or opportunities or people? Exactly 1 year ago today, I was elected to serve on the Texas FFA travel team on this very stage. And I knew exactly what that meant. That meant deferring my first year of college. That meant traveling all across the state, visiting 350 schools over the course of the year, and of course, rocking the blue and gold corduroy jacket every single day. It was a dream come true. But as I started looking at some of the places I was going to experience, I began to get a little concerned. You see, I'm from the Texas Hill Country, born and raised. Area 7, of course. The Texas Hill Country, home of Enchanted Rock, the capital of Texas, the Riverwalk, and of course, the highest population of white-tailed deer in the United States of America. I was very familiar with my home, but I didn't know a whole lot about the rest of my state. And once I started looking at all the places I was going to go, I got a little concerned. I started basing all of my expectations off of what I'd seen on TV or on the news. So here I go into the panhandle of Texas, expecting to get sucked up in a tornado, blown away in a dust storm, and see a cattle drive going down Main Street of every major town. And then I go into South Texas, expecting to see nothing but uninhabitable brush and cactus, teeming with nothing but chupacabras. And then I went into East Texas, East Texas, I was ready to drag the FFA truck out of alligator-infested swamps, get carried away by mosquitoes bigger than myself, and meet a new Cy Robertson at every stop. And then I went into West Texas, expecting to see skinny cattle, tumbleweeds, and nothing else. And all of these thoughts had me a little concerned. I mean, how is that supposed to relate to any of these cultures that I was about to experience? Over the course of the last year, I have had the opportunity of visiting every single corner of the state of Texas, and I am proud to say that none of my concerns were warranted. While each region of Texas has different terrains, has different demographics, has different lifestyles, they all have some things in common. Like they all have agriculture, they all have outstanding food, and they all have incredibly friendly people that make you feel welcome. And once I realized that, my year got a lot more enjoyable. I got out of my own little closed-minded world and began to see the true beauty that this state has to offer. I opened my mind. Open our minds. It may not be something as simple as going to different places across the state. It may be something like a new opportunity, or a new idea, or a new friend. But how can we expect anything different to happen to us if we never allow different opportunities into our lives? When a new opportunity comes, seize it. When a friend offers up a new idea or a teammate offers a new idea, listen to them and let it grow. If an ag teacher encourages you to try a new team, give it a shot. Because once we open up our minds, we take the first step to opening up to the world, and thus we learn the bass notes of our song. Complicated, I know. Once we open our minds, the next step for us to do is to open our hearts. And opening our hearts is all about being vulnerable. It's about sharing your thoughts, your feelings, concerns, and therefore sharing yourself. My first Texas FFA State Convention happened 4 years ago in this very city, in this very room, on this very stage. And I remember at that point, I was bound and determined that I would be a state officer one day. That was my first real introduction to what the FFA was about, and I was inspired. So that whole car ride home, I was thinking about how one day I'd be on the stage. How one day I would have that FFA jacket that just says association across the back. But once I got home and I started telling my friends about my newfound dream, and they asked me, how do you do that? That's when it hit me. I had no idea what it took to be a state officer. I was stuck in my tracks at this point. So I did the only thing that I knew to do. I got as involved in this organization as I could possibly get. I tried out for more teams, I met more people, I gathered as much knowledge as I possibly could until one day I couldn't take it anymore. I had to ask somebody who had lived the life, who had walked the walk, somebody that knew what they were talking about. So I summoned up all of my courage to send an email. Oh yes, an email to the state president at the time, Miss Allison Granger. I explained in my email that I was uneasy about running for state office and that I wanted to be successful, but I just didn't know how to do it. And I knew the odds of her responding were pretty low. I mean, she was a state FFA president. She represented over 70,000 members at the time. I mean, she had hands to kiss and babies to shake, or maybe that's the other way around. Anyways, I wasn't optimistic for a response until I opened up my email the next day and saw that she'd responded. So she gave me some little tips on how to be successful. She said, know who you are and be proud of that person. Listen more than you talk. I still have not conquered that one yet. Be open to new people and new ideas. Better yet, always surround yourself with new people and new ideas. When given an opportunity to sit with a group of people you know and a group of people you're comfortable with, or a group of people you've never met, choose the people you've never met. Attend, compete, and participate in as many events as possible. Check. When running for office, solicit advice from various ag teachers. Ask, and when you think you've got it figured out, ask some more. Never give up, just try harder, and then focus on your current office rather than always looking to the next one. Otherwise, you'll just miss out on a lot of great experiences. I've had a lot of great experiences in the FFA, but this email, it made everything crystal clear to me. It suddenly made my out-of-reach dream seem like an attainable goal. I mean, it was almost too easy. I asked questions, she answered them, and I instantly felt better about my future. All that it took was for me to open up to a complete stranger. I opened my heart. We have to open our hearts. Sometimes all it takes for us to improve and grow and feel better about ourselves is to ask somebody around us for help or assistance. Whether that be in FFA or friendships or athletics or faith or just life. When you're confused, ask for answers. When you're lost, ask for directions. When you're afraid, ask for support. I challenge you, Texas FFA, to open your heart to those around you, to those that can help you. Because once you open your heart, you've taken the second step to opening up to the world. And thus, you've learned the melody of your song. Thank you. So once we've opened up our hearts, the last thing for us to do is we have to open our arms. And opening our arms is all about being there for those that need you. In life, we're constantly faced with opportunities to help those around us. So it's up to us whether we open our arms or we don't. This year, I had the opportunity of visiting the Seagraves FFA chapter in the Area 2 Association. And for lunch that day, we went to the highly touted Seagraves Dixie Dog. Now, the specialty at this restaurant was French fries covered in bacon and pieces of chicken and then smothered in queso. This fat kid was happy. And then while we were eating lunch, there was an FFA member by the name of Seth Barron that came up to us, and he pulled out 3 of these little crosses, giving one each to Blake, Nathan, and myself. It's a pretty simple cross. It's a leather strap, bits of horseshoe nail that have been bent to make the shape of a cross and then wrapped in colored wires. Really, really simple supplies, but put together for a great result. We thanked Seth for the crosses, and a little bit later, his ag teacher told us exactly what those crosses were. Those crosses are called miracle crosses, and Seth makes them, and he's been making them for the last 4 years, and over the last 4 years, he has raised over $7,000, but he doesn't keep a dime of it. He donates every cent of it to a charity that he chooses. He helps people that can't afford to go to church camps who need help. He sends them to church camp. Homeless people that can't afford Bibles, he has Bibles. One day I talked to him, he was paying rent for a family that was in crisis and couldn't afford to live there anymore. And one day I even talked to him, and he took a family to the grocery store to help them buy their groceries because they couldn't afford to eat anymore. All of these things were made possible because Seth wanted to make a difference. Seth opened his arms. Now, in life, opening our arms doesn't take much, just simply a desire to want to make a difference. Simply the smallest gesture can sometimes have bigger results than we ever could have imagined. Or it doesn't even necessarily have to be our own movement, just helping out one that's in place. If you're curious, if you want to learn more about Miracle Crosses, you can visit Seth's Facebook page at Miracle Crosses, also at SethLovesJesus.com. But I wanted to help out as well. I wanted to join the movement. Therefore, I bought 10 Miracle Crosses, and I hid them underneath random seats in the auditorium around us. So, real quick, take 15 seconds, look underneath your seat, and see if you found a Miracle Cross. It's in a white envelope. It is like a massive search mission right now. Whether you received a Miracle Cross or not is not what's important. What's important is that when you have an opportunity to make a difference in somebody's lives, you open your arms. We are constantly faced with opportunities in our lives to make a difference, and so it's our choice to decide whether we're going to do it. Whether it's helping a green hand memorize the FFA creed, or helping an old lady cross the street, or just simply helping out in our community, we always have a chance to make a difference somewhere. And once we open our arms, we have taken the last step to opening up to the world, and thus we've learned our whole song. Open up. You are meant to stand out and be open and make a difference. So in those opportunities, in those moments where you feel like you're unsure about a new opportunity, open your mind. And those moments where you need somebody to talk to, open your heart. And when you have a difference to make, when you have a chance to make a difference in this world, open your arms. Texas FFA, it's time for us to open up. It's time for us to stop living inside our own heads. It's time for us to stop worrying about what other people think. And it is time for us to stop watching somebody who needs help and not doing anything about it. As we leave here today, I challenge you to open your minds. I challenge you to open your heart, and I challenge you to open your arms. Texas FFA, take a chance. Open up to the world and let your song be heard.